friends, how are you? Ashley Amadzai here, the Psychic Life Coach, and I am so excited to have round 2 of Wisdom Drop Wednesday. Today I have my dear friend Jackie Lynch. She is a certified financial planner and certified divorce financial analyst. She specializes in working with women. I know this group is built primarily of women, so this is of course why I had to have her on here. More women deserve to be empowered around their money decisions. And I love that she not only helps us with all types of investments, but also loves to dig into the behavioral and the emotional relationship with money so that you can have confidence in making sure that your money is working for you rather than just working all the time for money. And so again, thank you so much for being here. And I've been saying it since you got here. But Jackie, yeah, thank you truly for being here, because I know I love money and I love numbers in relation to money, but when it comes to investments and all of these things, I don't know. I'm kind of like a fainting goat. And so I'm so glad that you're here so we can have these conversations. And if you guys are popping on live, oh, hey, Breezy, I see you on here. If you guys are popping on live and you have questions, feel free to drop them below because we are here to answer them. Happy Wisdom Drop Wednesday. So let's get started. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited.
So we had shared in the beginning that you help people, and women in particular, with all types of investments. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Like what kind of investments are even options for us?
Well, there is a wide range, and you can start small. You can start with like $50 a month. You can start with nothing much. And it really is going to come down to asking you a bunch of questions and helping you figure out what you want this money to do, because different investments do different things. Mainly you have stocks, you have bonds, you have mutual funds, and mutual funds are pretty simply just a collection of stocks and bonds so that you can get a bunch of investments in one little package. And then we take a portfolio and put a bunch of those mutual funds in, so you have thousands and thousands of stocks and bonds that are working for you. That way, if something happens to one, your whole portfolio and all your money doesn't just disappear. So for example, like 2008 is something that's pretty fresh in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot of people say, oh, I lost everything, or my grandma lost everything, or my uncle lost everything. And the only way that really happens in mutual funds, typically speaking, I would say 95 to 99% of the time, I have never really looked it up, but is if you have not done your research and have a mutual fund that's not very, stable, or uses a lot of really weird stuff, which we don't do. Or if you sold out, that's another way that you can lose. So if you have something that's worth $10 and now all of a sudden it's worth $1 and you say, oh, I better sell it before I lose that last dollar, and then it bounces up to $10 again, you've lost that investment because you made that emotional choice. So a lot of what I do is help people not just with the investments, because that's kind of the boring part. That's kind of the part that clients don't want to know about. It's more the behavioral management and making sure that we're making smart choices. And that comes with a lot of questions about what's important.
Absolutely. And are you guys so grateful? Like my brain does not work this way. I am very much about people. I'm with the people. I'm for the people. So when it comes to this kind of I'm like mutual funds, my heart is kind of racing just talking about it. And so I'm so grateful to delegate to amazing experts like you who can make it simple and break it down. So like, for example, Breezy, I see that you're on here. Breezy, I love this woman with my whole heart, and she has a new baby, sweet baby Summer. And I have a daughter too. So let's just throw this question up. If someone like Breezy or myself, or someone who is a mom, what kind of investments should we be making to leave a legacy for our families so they don't have to struggle as hard as we do? I know there's certain accounts out there, there's certain things, and I feel guilty because I haven't done it yet.
Number one, don't feel guilty.
Thank you.
Don't ever feel guilty
Release
for
the
the
guilt.
things that you've done. You have to be easy on yourself, because money is a fluid thing, and money comes and goes in people's lives. And what matters to you is what really you have to focus on it. And that takes a lot of digging, and that takes a lot of conversation. As far as people's kids are concerned, that's a whole nother alley of conversations that we typically go down. The first being, what kind of values do you want to instill in your kids? Do you want them to just have wealth, or do you want them to earn wealth? Do you want them to have a free education, or do you want them to have a partially paid for education? And here's a gift. I'm going to help you with some of your education. Yeah. So there's lots of conversations we have around kids and how to give them their best future while also, giving them some lessons in life and how to keep and earn money.
So people would definitely just like come to you with those questions and that you'd be able to set them on a track for success. Because it is a really good conversation. Things that I've thought about too. I've like literally been on my own since I was starting actually 13, and I've had to work and hustle for everything that I have. So I have a lot of that. And I really value money versus, we talk about the trust fund kids, which like, that's great. I'm happy for you. But I have so much work ethic, and I know I got that from having to work hard for money. And so it's kind of like, here, I want to leave a legacy for my daughter so she doesn't have to struggle and she doesn't have to go through the hard times that I did. But it also is a fine line between, but are you teaching them the value of money if you just give it to them, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's a really great question. I think that money does not create happiness. That's the first thing to really be clear on. Money is not a creator of happiness. And it is also shouldn't be something that you struggle with or fight against. It should be your partner in life. It goes through with you, this whole experience from the time that you start earning money and leave the safety of your parents' keep to the time that you pass away. And, that's the biggest responsibility that you have, is to teach healthy relationship with money to your daughter. I would say that's
ding, 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 ding. That is so gold.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it's not just about like, okay, the trust funds, or I'm going to make them earn it, but it's like, what is the relationship that you are cultivating for them with money? And I actually, that makes sense, but I wasn't thinking of it that way. And that does take away a lot of the guilt.
So the biggest thing that you can do to alleviate some guilt is make sure that, number one, if something happens to you today and you were off this planet, you just got to go to heaven all of a sudden tomorrow, or wherever you're going to go. You just left. Is your family going to be okay? That's the number one thing, because once you know that your kids are going to be taken care of and there's enough to take care of them, not leave them millions and millions of dollars so that they have to deal with that without preparation that you would want to give them. Which is, if that's something you want to do, then we just have to make sure that you understand it, identify it, and prepare them for it. Then once you have that taken care of, like whether it's life insurance or you have a house with lots of equity, that the family's going to be okay, that will help you sleep at night for your kids. And then you kind of go into like little lessons as they grow. Let's open a savings account. Let's do some chores. And here you save 50 cents of your every dollar that you make, because maybe you want a bike or something. So there's lots of different little tips and tricks that you can use.
So I love that you offer so much more than just the investments, but kind of like the family planning aspect too. Like you have such a wealth of knowledge.
Stuff. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
That's fun stuff.
So let's shift gears here a little bit, because I know there are also a lot of entrepreneurs on here too. And so in the world of entrepreneurship, there is so much abundance to be had. And I know a few of us, the goal is to hit 5-figure months, so like 10K months, 20,000 months. And it can happen just like that in a snap of our fingers. And so when you come across that wealth, yes, hooray, we're so grateful. But now it's time to be really responsible with our money. It's not like some people who win the lotto and they spend all of it like within 5 years or something, and then they're bankrupt. Like, we don't want to be in that situation. We want to be smart with our money. And so speaking to all the entrepreneurs out there, like, let's listen up so we can make these smart, empowered decisions. So what would you say if someone started to have these influxes in their money, but it could be feast or famine. Yeah, the surplus.
Okay. So the first thing that we do when we start talking about money is and we'll get into this a little bit more in a minute, is really identifying what it takes for your household to function. What do you need on a monthly basis to pay your bills, to have some fun with friends, to be able to plan a little trip here and there? What do you need to have a comfortable lifestyle? And once we've identified that, then we say, okay, what is coming in that we know is coming in? What is coming in that we think is coming in? If there's something coming in that's a surplus that goes above and beyond our current needs, and we're still paying ourselves, we're saving for retirement, we're saving for whatever is important to us, whether it's college or a big giant family trip, whatever that is, we've identified that, we've met our bills, we have more. What do we do with it? Yeah. Well, we can invest it. I would say that would be what I usually would recommend. But
step one, call Jackie.
Yeah. Because there might be, but I would use something that's much more conservative, because there might be times where in an entrepreneur's life, especially, where there are struggles. So I would use something that's just very, very low volatility that can earn a little bit of your return. You also have savings accounts that are, giving you, 1 to 2%, but something like a bond fund that gives you maybe 3 to 4% in return. That's just a normal, it's kind of like that boring thing that is going to be steady Eddie. But obviously this comes with a lot of other things we talk about: emergency fund, survivor plan, making sure your family's taken care of. There's lots of things, but being clear on exactly what is coming in, what you need to live off of, and then anything surplus in that, you just say, okay, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to save it? Are all my needs for retirement and other goals being met? And this is just something extra. A lot of things that I like to think, some of the ideas I like to recommend too, is splitting it up. So saying, you know what, I deserve to have something. So I'm going to take a third of it, I'm going to spend it on me and have some fun. And then a third of it, I'm going to put into something that's going to get some good long-term growth. And then another third of it, I'm going to stick in my savings account so that when there's some volatility in my income, I have that cushion there.
So that's kind of how you break it up. It's like a third.
Or whatever works. It comes with conversation. It really comes with the stability of your revenue, how likely these kinds of windfalls are to continue. But, it just comes with conversation, and every single situation is unique, which I hate that answer, but it depends.
It really is. And again, that's why I'm so glad that you're here. And this reminds me of before I had Presley. So before I was a mom, I worked full time. I was a server and I loved what I did. I worked in a busy casino. Like I was there 12 hours a day. I just loved it. I didn't have a life. My friends would visit me at the restaurant. And I made a lot of money, and I made a lot of money in cash. And instead of, I forgive my younger ignorant self in this, but I would spend that money. I mean, I actually did create a bank account for Presley before she was ever born. I was like, this is one for my daughter. This is savings for me. But I paid off all my credit cards and stuff. But instead of like focusing on paying off my student loans or on saving for a house or investing in something like that, I spent it like on clothes that I donated 3 years later to the Goodwill for free. And I was like, yeah, it was great to have that freedom and just to like be able to buy whatever it is that I wanted. But again, I kind of had to forgive my younger self for that. And then I had a baby and I was like, now I can only work half as much. I'm a nursing mother and I'm an entrepreneur and it's going like this. So no matter where you're at in your life story, I just want to like give you that little bit of knowledge of like, don't make the mistake that I did, and find a financial advisor or planner, someone who can guide you on your path. And I love Jackie in particular because she specializes in working with women. And so that's a beautiful segue into what is your main focus with your clients?
Well, one of the things we talked about a little bit ago was investments. And investments I like to think of as that, it's like a little tree. You're planting it. As long as you continue to water it and give it some nurturement, give it some, nutrition, which means basically add more money to it. It will grow. It will grow. It's not complicated. The big place that people mess up is they say, okay, my tree is growing and it's looking good, but oh my gosh, that guy's tree is looking much better. Like that whole, oh, he's getting 12%, I'm only getting 10. So let me pick this up and go move it over there. So that's how people make mistakes, is they try to make changes in comparison. What really matters is this tree going to meet my needs? Is this tree going to provide the fruit that I need when I'm no longer able to feed it anymore? So that is the boring part. The fun part is really the behavioral piece, because behavior and emotions is, like I said a minute ago, money is a relationship, and money is probably one of the longest and most complicated relationships you'll have in your life. And so really creating that bond with your money is what I focus on. And there's, And so, being kind to yourself, seeing your money as a partner in your life, seeing your money as a sweetheart, changing that mind shift, because most people that I found in my experience that come into my office have a really negative, relationship with money, and kind of see it as a combatant or something that they feel there's scarcity in. And so it's really about managing those resources and seeing it as a partner. And then I have a few tips I was going to share if you
okay, absolutely. And I want to piggyback on that because you guys, I have a masterclass that's coming out, and it is all about manifestation with money. And I love what you're sharing because it's all about that relationship that you have with money. And like one little story I'll share with this, and I'm so excited to get into these like amazing tips. When Jackie shared these tips with me, I was like, I got to have you on for Wisdom Drop Wednesday. Like my people need to experience this. Is how do you treat how do you treat money? Is it your best friend? Is it like your boyfriend? And an example that I kind of got like slapped in the face with was I had a check and I put it on my counter. And I was like, okay, I'll deposit it later. And I kept walking by and kind of ignoring it. And I was like, oh, I'll get to it later, like 3 days later. And I finally deposit it. But what if that was my best friend? And I just like, oh, thanks for coming. Thanks for joining me. And I just like sat her on the counter and I just walked past her. Yeah. I wouldn't have a friend, right? Instead, I'd be like, would you like some tea? Here, can we turn on some nice music while I deposit you? You know what I mean? Like, you need to realize that that relationship is so important in the manifestation in the energetic world, because money will show up for you when you show up for money. And if you have that cruddy relationship with it, then it's like,
I know, it's totally true. And it's just like what you're saying, you know, I compare it a lot of times to like a marriage. You know, if you only, and especially with the budgeting piece, which we'll kind of get into a little bit, if you only talk to your spouse once every week or 2 weeks, or even once every month, like people do, you know, like comparing that to budgeting, what kind of relationship would you have? You would not know. You would not know anything that's going on in that person's life at all. You would just be completely in the dark. And so having that relationship, understanding that it is a positive thing, it's a blessing, it's a beautiful thing. It's about inspiration. It's about excitement and propulsion towards what you want for the future and the joy that you want in your present. And so getting healthy with that is definitely one of my favorite things to do.
And I love that. Thank you for having this conversation with me, because more women need to be talking about this. And so I'm so excited to dive into these tips because they are gold. Cool. I realize that you're not even centered. I know. Don't you want to see your beautiful face? There we go.
Okay. So the first tip that I have, and any financial planning relationship starts with this, and that is, what is important to you? What do you value? And not just goals and things you want to do, although that is part of it, but that's the second piece. The first piece is, what do you value? So money does one of three things. Money allows you to do things, go out and have fun with friends and go on trips. It allows you to buy things, have things, you know, groceries, car, whatever you need. And it also allows you to be who you want to be. And so that money that comes into your life, the ebbs and flows as it does, is here to give you either a good feeling or a not good feeling. And it's up to you to decide, but you have to identify what's important to you, really top of mind. Some people it's family, some people it's friendship, some people it's adventure, some people it's, you know, stability, some people it's growth. I have a whole list of things here that I walk my clients through, and I say, pick 5 of these things that you really want to focus on for the next year to 2 years to 3 years, whatever, until those really change, that really are driving your decisions. And it's a gut check, right? So say your one of your values is friendship, and you go out to Starbucks and you spend $5 on a coffee. You can easily do a quick gut check and say, was this money spent in alignment with my values? So if I had coffee by myself, I could probably easily answer, no, this really doesn't match any of my values, you know. But if I went and had coffee with a cup of coffee with a friend, I could easily say, absolutely, this matches my values, because this money was spent doing something that's important to me, which is bonding with my friends. So you see, that's kind of like what we start with is really what inspires your money decisions, what makes you feel good about when you spend money. And then moving into goals is the next piece. What do you want to do with that money that you're making in the next, 6 months or 1 year or 5 years or 10 years or retirement? There's all different places on that journey that you're on. So that's the first tip, is really identify what's important to you and set some goals.
And if we can add, so I'll share. So Jackie and I, we've met before at a retreat, but we were having coffee or tea together, and she asked me the same question that I asked you guys in the Mediocre to Magical Academy. And that is, if you had $1 million and you had to spend it in 3 days, what would you spend it on? And I want to ask you that question. You have $1 million and you have to spend it in the next 3 days. What do you spend it on? And just like super rocket fire those answers, because my first thing was, there's a $25,000 coaching program that I want to do. And it's because I value coaching, because I am a coach. And so I didn't even think about like paying off hospital bills or like any of that. I thought, like, I value coaching. And so it was so revealing to me. And so I'd love for you guys to write that down and then share it below.
And pick 3 or 4. I mean, and your values are going to change over time. So sometime, for a while it might be adventure. And then as you get older, it might be more family, or it might be marriage, or whatever the case may be. You can have like 4 or 5 things, just as long as you don't say, I want to have 20 values that are top of mind, because that might get a little overwhelming. But if you can really clearly identify a good handful that are really important to you that drive those decisions. That $1 million exercise is a great way to identify that, is to say, what are the 3 things you would spend that money on? Or if you had to make it disappear in 3 months, what would you do with it? Those who say investments, then stability is really important to them. That's probably a value that they would circle on their value sheet. If they say go to Europe for a month, then adventure and travel and excitement are probably really top on their level of importance for values. So it's really, really exciting to see that. It helps you identify yourself.
It does. Like, that was so huge for me. And I was like, okay, now I understand why I spend money on certain things versus my husband will spend and value money on certain things. And I'm like, it's like love languages of money.
And as long as it's healthy and legal, and then you're good. As long as you can be aware of everything. So the second tip is kind of leads into that, and that is really taking the step towards a good budget. And a budget doesn't have to be something that is a bad word. The B bad word.
I know there's a little bit of it where I'm like,
I know. All it is you're just forward planning. You're taking your money and you're
I can take that. I can digest it. The forward planning.
So you basically say, okay, what do I have flowing into my household this month? What needs to flow out, and what can I keep? So basically, whatever system works for you. I used for like 15 years, I used a journal, like a paper, like a book.
Pen and paper,
because it was just easier for me. My money was much more consistent then. I was, married, and we had military, so we had, money coming in. Now in my current position, it's a little bit more fluid. There's, like you said, with the entrepreneurial life, sometimes it's bigger, sometimes it's smaller. And so basically, my method has changed. So now I use an Excel spreadsheet, and I give that to my clients because it's very customized and it helps them. So basically just what's coming in, pay myself for my retirement and my other goals, and then what needs to go out with blessings. Thank you for the electricity to the energy company. Thank you to Smith's for groceries, all these things that are beautiful things. And then whatever's left over. But you also have to bake into that budget money for lifestyle for you. Because you have to give yourself some money to have fun with. So what I usually do is on a weekly basis, I'll give myself a certain amount of money, and I'll say this amount of money is what I want to stick to for my fun, for my, maybe I bake in groceries to that as well. That way I don't feel bad if I go out and have, a spontaneous desire to buy a purse from Marshall's or something like that, because it's in there and I have that flexibility to do that. I've given myself the freedom to have some spontaneity in my life and to not make everything a healthy decision. Not everything has to be perfect. And
then you're not in that lack space of like, oh, I can't.
Then you're in abundance.
Yeah. Here is a gold nugget for you guys. You will never hear me say, I talk super positive with money. Like I love the whole relationship game, but you'll never hear me say like, oh, I'm too broke or I can't afford it. What I can say and will say instead is, I'm just saving for something else right now. Like there's I am completely unavailable for the energy of lack to be in that space. And so I love what you're saying, Jackie, because give yourself whatever it is. I know for me, I'm like, oh, I'm buying like gluten-free cookies today. Like that's like an extra splurge for me,
treat. Yeah,
it is. So it allows you to elevate your vibration and tuning into that frequency of freedom. And so that is really, really an important process.
Absolutely.
Even when you are saving or budgeting.
And it's very, very empowering to be able to identify what's important to you in the future and to give yourself a break for what matters to you in the present and enjoy it. Because like I say, you can't take it with you. So it's kind of like you've taken care of your family. You've taken care of your future. You got to take care of yourself too. And that's part of the budget. It's not about, okay, this is how much I have left to live on. It's I've taken care of everything. And look what I have left. I have all this left. So another challenge that I give to people who have a pretty substantial surplus is I say, you are required to spend this money every month because you've already, saved your maximum for your Roth or whatever your retirement needs are met based on what you're doing already. And, you want to take this big trip and that's being funded and all this stuff is planned out. The money is flowing towards the future very nicely. Enjoy your present. Don't blow it because it's here and you need to appreciate it. And that kind of brings us to the third step, which is really getting clear on how you feel when you spend your money, because that is the key to a healthy relationship with money. So not only being clear and having an understanding of where it's going, that's those conversations, those monthly conversations, which is what I consider the budget, budget. And I do it on as daily as I can. Same thing with a marriage, like daily, because then you're only putting in 2 to 3 things. If you wait for a week, you're going to have a lot of talking to do. It's going to be a long conversation, and you're probably not going to have much time, and you're going to delay it, and you're going to procrastinate it, and then it's going to be a negative experience, and it's not going to feel good. So try to find 5 to 10 minutes every day to pull up your budget. Maybe it's on Google Docs. I keep mine on Google Docs so I can access it on my work computer. I can access it on my phone, my iPad, wherever I am, and say, okay, I just went to Starbucks with my girlfriend. I got a coffee for $5. It's in there. It's tracked. I can see, cool, I have $95 left for the week to just have fun with, or whatever the case may be. Every situation is different.
And another tip in that reminds me of is because you talked about how do you feel with money.
Yeah, that's the third.
Yeah, it's so beautiful is whenever I swipe my card, because I like barely ever have cash these days, right? I'm just swiping my card, is I've gotten in the habit of saying, there's more where that came from. Like, thank you. Whenever I spend money, it always comes back tenfold. And so it's like this affirmation again and again, to where like when I swipe, even though something is coming out, I don't, again, unavailable, encouraging you to be completely unavailable for any lack, but like there's more where that came
There's
from.
abundance in life. And it's great that you brought that up, because I was thinking about this today, and I'm thinking about the relationship. And one of the things that I like to do on occasion when I think of it, of course, you can't always keep all of this stuff front of mind, but we try our best, is, if you kind of try to get in that mindset, and if it helps you and it feels good to you to think of it like a relationship, then maybe when you swipe, you say under your breath, thank you, sweetie. Thank you, honey. Thank you, honey.
Thanks, babe.
Just
for getting that for me.
if you think about your money, like, I'm going to give you a little here and give you a little there, and you get to be appreciative and not just think of it as an abstract thing, but think of it kind of like an entity that you get to say, oh, thank you so much, sweetie. This is great. Or thank you, sugar. Or thank you, sweetie pie. Or whatever.
You always take care of me.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll give you my digits and type in your PIN.
Whatever fun little, you can always play with that and make up new names.
That's so sweet. The checker's like.
Kind of fun? I know. You just say it quietly so no one thinks you're weird. Or you can say, oh, I'm on my Bluetooth. Sorry.
Yeah.
So the last tip that I have for you today, and this is something that I have for my clients, but it's basically, you can do it in a spreadsheet. It's pretty simple. Basically, it's a 30-day challenge, and it's really to let you dig deep and get some insight as to what's going on in here with your money, what's going on in your heart, and your gut. So basically, it's just a list for you to track. And the great thing about this that I love, because I've done it and it was really enlightening, is that it's not about math. It's not about taking this, minusing this, and figuring out what this is. It's just about writing it down, identifying each transaction that you spend money on for 30 days. So everything, you go to Smith's, you spend, or the grocery store, I want to be specific to Smith's, you spend $85 at the grocery store. It also, the next thing you do is identify how it made you feel. So there are 4 feelings that you can identify. The first one is joy. The second one is satisfaction, and I'll go into these. The third one is regret, and the fourth one is shame. So joy means, oh my God, I just, went on this great trip with my friends, and I spent this money, and it was so awesome. I loved seeing that concert. It filled me with joy. I was so excited. The satisfaction would be like, I went to the gas station, I put gas in my tank, my money is doing what it needs to do. I'm so satisfied that my money is my partner in life. Makes me feel good.
Great example. Yeah.
And then regret might be, let's go back to Starbucks. I had a Starbucks, $5. Maybe I could have spent that in a different way. It's acknowledging that if you had another choice in the future, maybe you'd make a different choice.
Like, I totally have coffee at home.
Yeah, exactly. I have coffee at home. I could make my special coffee, and then I could feel good about that choice. And then shame is the last one. And that's like, oh my gosh, I just went and spent $150 on a dress I don't need. I think I'll go take it back, and that would feel better for me. Something that you can really dig deep and say, this didn't feel good. It felt spontaneous. It didn't align with any of my values. And I've realized that I feel not good about it. I feel shame about it. So I'm going to go take it back so that I can feel joy about that choice. Because then the money continues to flow in a way that's positive. And that's the biggest thing is really just changing your mindset on money. And the 30-day challenge is about identifying everything that you do normally and really asking yourself, how does it make me feel when you do it?
And then when you take all of that information, the goal I could imagine is like, what are my patterns?
Mm-hmm.
Am I spending money just to spend money and I'm feeling more shame? That's adding to the shame relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Or am I really spending money on what I value and it's bringing more joy into my relationship?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's so gorgeous. And she has this amazing sheet here. And this one is not filled out, but I want to make sure that you guys kind of see. Right? Yeah. Oh, it was a little bit different.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
There's a big picture.
There's another piece added into there that I go through with people that have more diet. So I have some clients that associate money.
That's a good one, yeah.
They have a tough time with money. They have a tough time with budgeting and really kind of facing it. But dieting and watching what they eat and all that stuff comes natural. They just have no problem doing that. And so I've kind of compared it to like just say the keto diet, for example, is a great one because it's very good visually. So with the keto diet, you usually do about 70% of what you eat is healthy fats. And about, I think it's 20% is protein and 10% is carbs. And so as you're tracking these things, let's just go back to the examples that we had before. Healthy fat would be something that would bring you satisfaction, something that it takes that healthy fat to keep everything moving. That would be like your house payment or going to the gas station or going to the grocery store and getting groceries. Any of those things that just is part of that life experience, it needs to flow. The protein would be basically the thing that makes you stronger, which is your savings, the thing that builds up and creates muscle, creates strength, whether it's for retirement or whether it's for emergency fund or whether it's for college or a trip. That stuff is protein. That should be about 20%. So maybe it's like 10% for retirement and then 10% for other areas of your life. Even if it's something small, like I want to save for a cool vacuum cleaner, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you're saving for something, then that's considered protein. And then finally the carb. We all need some carbs. We all need to have some fun, right? So if you go out and you buy a new purse at Marshall's, that's a carb and that's okay. The thing is if you go to the 15, 20% carbs is your diet and you don't have that, you're going to start packing it on, and that's called debt. Those carbs will sit on your hips and you will build that debt up. And so basically,
isn't this genius, guys? I was like, oh my gosh, I love this.
So basically just letting yourself have carbs, just being aware of them. Be aware of what you're spending that is not helping things flow and is not building for your future. And that's part of this 30-day challenge, is really identifying how you feel and whether it's a carb, a protein, or a fat.
Yeah, I love that's a way when you classify it that way. It's like budgeting without the scariness of the B word. Because I'm like, oh, okay, like food, nutrition, I get that. Like let's break it down to the macros.
Especially as women. Women, we really, really get that, and I think a big part of that is we are hard
packing
on ourselves.
It on.
We're very hard on ourselves. We judge ourselves quite freely, and the diet is the area we feel the most control of what we can do to help our inner, the bitch in the attic, so to speak.
Oh yeah, that's like something. The bitch is in the attic. Yeah. It's like the inner critic, as some of my friends would say. Yeah.
I actually, it was funny. I was stressed today. I had a couple of experiences with some people yesterday and today that really kind of put me in a bad mood. And I'm never in a bad mood. And I was like, and I'm driving and I'm kind of like, just put a serious face. And I said to myself, Jackie, what's wrong? What is wrong? Are you okay? Are you okay, honey? And I asked myself, I'm like, why am I so upset? What does it matter what they think or what that conversation was like? It doesn't matter. And it's the same thing with like money. It's all about mindset. It's all about checking in and saying, hey, what am I feeling right now? Am I feeling shame? What can I do about it? Am I feeling regret? That's okay. Regret is not a big deal. I just know that means next time I can make a better choice. So it's about being easy. It's about understanding that money's your friend, money's your partner. And you just have to communicate with it. And you just have to try to figure out a way to spend in a way that brings you happiness and joy. And all will be good.
So amazing. Thank you so much, Jackie, for sharing all this wisdom. I'm really excited to answer this question, or to ask this question for you to answer, because if you guys wanted to connect with her, the first consultation is
complimentary.
It's complimentary. You guys, like, we're going to drop her information above and below so you can connect with her. But the first session, just call her up, have a session with her, evaluate like where it is that you're at, where do you want to be, find out what your options are. You don't have to be in hiding anymore. And so like, well, Jackie and I, while we were kind of setting everything up, I was like, I feel myself shrinking around the conversations of money and Roths and life insurance. Like I literally go like this and I'm like, oh, my husband takes care of that. And
that's common.
Right. I almost said shame on me. So I'm going to take that out of my mind. I was like, please hold. Yeah. Permission to pause right there.
You can change that.
Exactly. But I have a choice to shrink away from that topic, or I and you have a choice to step into that power, because we are in charge of our money. Like we can make our own money. We can do it. You can do it. I can do it. We have the amazing help of Jackie. So call her. Again, we're going to drop her information below. What is the best way to get a hold of you?
You can call our office. The number is 775-853-1503. And Yolanda is our secretary, our wonderful scheduling coordinator, and she can find a time that works for all of us.
Wonderful. So we will drop all the information below so you guys can set up your complimentary consultation. And do you have any last tips to help people elevate their life from mediocre to magical? That's the name of this group.
Oh, last tip. I guess I would say find a system that works for you to just journal. And if it's a financial budget, if it's a financial diary, something where you can really put down all your thoughts, things that you've learned, ahas. Listen to yourself, the voice in your head, and whether it's being positive for you or negative, whether it's supporting you or whether it's scaring you, because your brain is designed for three things. It's designed to keep everything functioning, and it's designed to help you with complex problems and solve those problems, and it's also designed to protect you. And your brain that's just its job. So if you hear it saying negative things like that are lies, like you can't do money, or money is for someone else in the house to take care of, at any one point, 90% of women will be in charge of their money at some point in their life. And that's whether it's because of divorce, whether it's because of death, all kinds of things can happen. And so become a partner with your money, because she's your buddy. And your brain sometimes can confuse you and tell you things that aren't true about that relationship. And just identify it and just say, oh, thank you, brain. Thanks for making me, aware of the support you're trying to give. But I need to put that fear away, and I need to set aside that idea and tell myself the truth, which is I can do this. It's not that hard. I can have all the support and resources that I need because they're all around me. And it's not hard. It just takes a little bit of focus and effort and intention.
I love it. And another thing that I was thinking of is like, who do you know that maybe has gone through a death or has gone through a divorce, or maybe someone who is a single mom, or who do you know? Like send them this video, because I've been in so many situations like as a single mom, and I was like, I wish that somebody would have introduced me to Jackie or a Jackie. So that way I just had some guidance on what my next steps would be. Like a lot of people are in quiet desperation, and a lot of times it's around money. And so this is why it's so important to have Jackie here on this Wisdom Drop Wednesday. So thank you so much for joining us. We love you guys. Yeah.
I had a really great time.
I know.
Talk about this stuff for hours.
Right? I know. I actually get nervous like every Facebook Live a little bit. I'm a tiny bit antsy, and she's like, hey, let's do this. I'm like, you are so good at what you do. She's like, I talk about it all day. Yeah. So beautiful.
Thing.
Yeah. We wish you guys an amazing day full of amazing things, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Oh, okay.